Welcome to Return on Insights, the show where candid conversations with bold founders and leaders spark actionable insights for your business. I'm David Lindover.
And I'm Erin Abitangelo. Each week, we pull back the curtain with leaders who are scaling teams and shaping the future, sharing the insights that create impact far beyond the bottom line.
Discover how high-performing companies build enduring cultures, inspire teams to think bigger, and turn vision into action. If you see storytelling as your strategic advantage, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm David Lindover. Welcome to Return on Insights podcast. In this episode, we dive into the future of professional communication with Val Avdeenko, co-founder of Happyverse AI. Val and the Happyverse team are pioneering AI avatars called Confidants that scale authentic human connection and trust in online professional settings. As AI reshapes how we interact, understanding how these digital personalities create genuine relationships is going to be critical for businesses and individuals alike. Drawing on Val's experience at AWS and deep AI expertise, we explore the technology behind Confidants, their impact on user experience, and what the future holds for AI-enhanced professional trust. Welcome, Val. Good to have you here.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
So my first question, Val, what inspired you and your co-founders to develop AI avatars, or as you call them, confidants, and how do they scale human connection in a professional setting?
So this was actually my co-founder's idea. He saw all these amazing breakthroughs that AI is bringing, whether new agentic tools, whether new LLM-powered chatbots, all of these really cool technology, but he realized a lot of it felt really impersonal. It wasn't really creating that personal trust. It wasn't really bringing that happiness to its users. Yeah, there was plenty of talk of efficiency, but ultimately, my co-founder, Max, he thinks that what we need more of is more of the happiness in the world. That's why the name Happyverse. Even when we are talking about professional setting, that's still our ultimate goal, bringing happiness in a professional setting. So based on that, he decided what's a way to create personal trust? What's a way to bring that happiness, those genuine connections? It would be by creating a face, creating this avatar, this confidant that is going to help you establish personal trust at a broader level. And I would say that in terms of creating genuine connections, there are two different ways that a confidant is able to create genuine connections. Number one, it is able to allow you to connect with people who would you have otherwise never connected with. So think about your website visitors. Most of them would never get a chance to talk to the real you. Most of them may not even be interested in talking to the real you just yet. They don't understand your product. So in this case, they may not get to talk to the real you just yet, but they get to talk to the second best thing, your confidant. And we think that's already a big step forward. We've seen people who, said that they already trust us and our customers more because they have had a chance to speak with their confidant. So that's number one. And number two, it frees you up to focus on the connections that are really important. So our vision is that rather than spending 1 hour or 2 hours sitting in a Zoom meeting just to give some factoids that you can bring as a subject matter expert, in 1 or 2 years, every professional is going to have a confidant that they can send to the meeting, and that confidant is going to be able to provide that little bit of insight. Meanwhile, this professional is going to be able to focus on what's important. For a lot of the professionals in the age of AI, it is building these genuine, real, human professional connections.
So what goes into making an AI avatar or a confidant feel authentic in the voice, in the style, in the personality?
Yeah, for sure. And I want to highlight that we're still very early stage, both in terms of where the technology is at, in terms of the video, the audio, that's on the one hand, and on the second hand, in terms of what people are comfortable sharing with a confidant. People so far want to provide some very specific information. But I can still dive a bit deeper. So when we're talking about video files, about audio files, the goal of our confidants is that we want anybody to create a confidant as quickly as about 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, you already are able to have a functional confidant, whether you wanted to talk to your colleagues, to go on your website to increase sales, maybe even to help you develop personally and professionally. A confidant could do any of those things, and we want to make it as easy as possible for you to do it. But to make a really good confidant, we found that the people are ready to put in, several minutes of the video content. Some people even 4, 5, 6 minutes, and that's definitely creates a much better video stream, so it feels a lot more natural. And in terms of the audio, again, if somebody provides 10 minutes of audio for the voice cloning, in general, the quality of that voice is going to end up a lot better. So that's in terms of the visual and audio artifacts. Now, in terms of the personality, that's a bit of a deeper question. So, I have played around a lot with the confidants I've created for myself, for others. Obviously, my colleagues have too. And you can provide it very basic, objective information. For example, the FAQ of your company, the GTM strategy, things like that. But as you said, it's going to be very factual. It's just not going to know a lot about your personality. So I have provided some of my confidants with a few things that I have written for personal reasons on my social media, or a few things that I've written in my diary, so that it has that same sense of humor that I do. It does the same jokes as I do. I've tried also a few people in the VC space who have a big public footprint to do deep research, not just on their investment philosophy, but also on their speaking styles, on the metaphors they like to make, so that the confidant also does these same folksy metaphors, so that the confidant also has that same speaking style, whether it's direct, whether it's a bit more folksy, whether it's a bit more emotional, supportive. So it's definitely very new. It's something we're experimenting with, but I found that when it works, when we can get that personality, when we can get that emotion right, it's very powerful, and that confidence just reaches a whole new level.
So the more you put in, the more you get out.
The more you put in, the more you get out, and we're definitely seeing this with our customers. Some of them, are spending hours tinkering with their confidence, but others are just, in 5 minutes, I've set up something that is good enough, and I think it works good enough for my purpose.
Very interesting. So how do confidants change the way that professionals, the way we build trust online compared to traditional tools? What's the difference?
Yeah, so for now, it just gives you that snapshot. Our initial goal is that a lot of these portals, the websites, the apps that people find online, they feel a bit impersonal. And of course, independent professionals, small business owners, early stage founders, they try to fill that impersonality. They have photos of themselves, they have videos of themselves. Some of them may have a chatbot, but ultimately, if we look at the facts, about 90 to 95% of your website visitors, they're going to bounce. They're never going to take the next step. That is generally one of the leakiest steps in your website funnel. So what we are doing is creating a confidant so that your customers are going to have a specific next step. When they enter your website, they can talk not just to a generic chatbot, they can talk to you, the founder of the company, the face of the company, or maybe to one of your best salesmen, so that they develop that personal trust, they develop a bit more of that personal relationship. So that's how we're changing it in the short term. In the long term, we do see confidants playing a much, much broader role in the workplace and going a level deeper into creating and helping establish these genuine professional relationships. So, for example, one of the use cases we're seeing down the line is, and we're actually already testing in our company, is if one of the leaders of the company, if, for example, they go on holiday or the company is too big for them to have a proper check-in with each one of the employees, they can have a confidant replace them and have a confidant collect that information, check in with their employees, and then provide an analytics report on the back end that the leader can then look over and get a pulse of the company, understand what's working, what's not working, what the employees worried about.
So I'm ad-libbing here. When you go to a website, you see the chatbot. I mean, there's varying degrees of sophistication in these chatbots and responsiveness, and the contextual relevance of what they give you back when you ask questions it varies a lot, I've found. None of them have personality. None of them are really meant to be engaging. You're creating something different than that. And I find that really intriguing. So am I having a conversation? Let's just say the website is the use case, and a prospect comes to my website and wants to know more about my content development services. My avatar is going to communicate the value proposition and the reason why they should take the next step and book a meeting with me. That's essentially what it's going to do, if that's what I set it up to do.
Exactly. And I do find, though, that people are generally, they do want to have that conversation. I've seen them be a lot more open to having the conversation, discussing the use case, discussing the problems. So it's a lot. What you described, it sounds like a bit of a one thing. So like, oh, I'm here to talk to David, and then the next step they're like, oh, here is David's contact information. I feel that's the state of today. What we want to do is somebody to come to the website and say, look, I'm not sure if David is the right fit. I have such and such problem. And then the confidant can explain, okay, here's what we've done before. Here is, we may not have an exact match, but here are some ideas that we think we may have for you. And if you think that David is the right fit, we can schedule a meeting. And so have a bit more of a complex conversation rather than this chatbot kind of Q&A.
Sounds fantastic. From your experience at AWS, what lessons did you learn that shaped Happyverse?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, the main lesson that one of my mentors at AWS has taught me, it was actually within the first few months of being at AWS. I was working on a big project, and initially, everybody was excited for it, but then one little problem came up, and then a second little problem came up, and a third little problem came up, and ultimately, like every one of upcoming meetings, what we were discussing were these little problems, and the whole project was dying because we were being completely flooded by these little problems. And what my mentor told me was, look, it's always going to be easier to do nothing than something. And people are always going to come up with this little problems, little blockers. But what you have to do is always reframe the conversation around the big vision, the big picture, the positives that you're expecting. And otherwise, you're going to get killed, get flooded, get suffocated by these little problems in no time. Always keep mind of this big picture, why we're doing it. Every meeting should be clear. This is what we are doing it. This is the amazing result that we can expect. And yeah, let's think how we can work through these little problems to get there faster.
Solid lesson learned for sure. How do you balance the technical challenges of the real-time AI conversations, which we just spoke about, with maintaining the natural human-like experience? So how natural is my avatar?
So the technical challenges with the naturalness of the avatar. Let's see. I'd say I want to be clear that the visual part and the audio part of the technology, I think it's working well. It is good enough to fulfill some of the purposes, but it's still like day one. We have such a bigger vision for where this product can go, for the realism that our confidence can bring. That we believe that once once we're able to cross the technical bridge, we would be able to reach a whole new level of emotion, of personality in our confidence. But for now, I think we're just saying, like, look, this is the technology that is available. Let us see what are the use cases where we can still bring a benefit to the customer with the level of technology that we have today. It may not have that same level of realism. It may not have that same level of personality that we want down the line, but we still think that, and our customers have told us that the confidants help establish the personal trust, help establish these personal connections with our customers, and ultimately get the customers excited to talk to the real you and to check out your product.
So, and you just touched on this. So, can you talk a little bit more about the feedback or the results that you've seen from users, and the demonstrable impact of confidants on a professional relationship?
Yeah, and keep in mind that we've been in our beta for 3 weeks, so we're still early. We are gathering that quantitative feedback, and we do want to show that enumerated rise in sales. I think we're going to have that information in a few weeks' time, where we're going to show the specific effect that a confidant has had on a funnel. But right now, for example, one of our customers is the founder of the Human Horizons Academy. What he has been saying is that, and what we're seeing on our end, is that customers are engaging for 5-10 minutes with his confidant. They're asking his confidant relevant questions, and a lot of the customers, once they reach out, once they're talking to the real Denise, once they're talking to his real team, they are mentioning the confidant, that they spoke with the confidant, the information that the confidant has provided them. So it does seem like it is a big part of the buying process, of their decision-making process. And of course, it's not just Denise that we're hearing the story from. We're hearing it from our other beta customers. We want to get the numbers behind this, but these early anecdotal signs seem really exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. So, what's a surprising reaction or result you've seen from users of these avatars?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of different reactions. It's the internet, after all. One that surprises me, I guess, to some extent it seemed obvious. To another extent, it's a little surprising. But a lot of users are very polite. There are definitely the joke about users thanking ChatGPT. But from what I understand, that's a minority of users. Almost everybody, after speaking to my confidant, they say thank you for the information provided. It was like I've learned everything I need to know. So in general, I found people are more polite with a confidant, similar how they'd be with a real person. And the second part is, we've touched on it, but for me, it's really been the depth of the conversations. So the level of conversation where the people are ready to go with. So they're not just saying like, can you connect me to Val and the Happyverse team? They're not just saying, oh, I have a coffee business. Can you connect me to Val and the Happyverse team? No, they're telling us about the coffee business, how it was founded by their parents back 100 years ago, how many sleepless nights their father put into it. So they're really sharing the information, the granular information about their business, their problem, how they want to bring that story to their customers with their confidants, and they're sharing this with my confidant. I think it's just really interesting how much deeper these conversations go than the conversations I've seen on the chatbots.
That's pretty inspiring, I'm sure, for your team. That's amazing. Good for you.
Definitely.
So, and you've touched on this, but how might these AI avatars or confidants evolve as more companies adopt them? This sounds perfect for my company and for me, because at the end of the day, it's about relationships for most people, right? So, being able to demonstrate that and take the opportunity without actually being there to have your confidant help to start a relationship with a business prospect is very valuable. As you said, most people just bounce right off your website, and you'll never meet them. You'll never get a chance to talk to them. So this is a really interesting way to do it. So how do you figure things are going to change as it's become more commercially acceptable?
Yeah, for sure. So I do think that, right now we are thinking of the only possible replacement right now is a case where the confidant is replacing text, because as of today, a lot of people may be surprised or offended if, for example, instead of talking to the real me, I send them a link to talk to my confidant. I wouldn't be surprised if, given several months, a year, 2 years, this becomes more socially acceptable, and people find that talking to a confidant. So, for example, I may really want to talk to Elon Musk. Elon Musk probably doesn't want to talk to me quite to the same extent, and he may, however, do the second best thing, which would be sending me his confidant that can gather the information, and then if it's relevant to what Elon is thinking, to what he's doing right now, provide a summary of that information to Elon, and I can have that detailed conversation with Elon's confidant. As of today, I do think it would be unacceptable for a lot of people to talk to a confidant, but I do think, based on what we're seeing with our company, based on what we're seeing with customers, based on what we're seeing with even some of the vendors who are interacting with us, at first people were surprised, alarmed, but then a few people have tried it, and it has led to really deep conversations, and it's becoming, I think it's going to become more and more acceptable to have a confidant replace not just text, but even you in a workplace setting for some of these meetings that you would have otherwise never, ever been able to attend.
I tend to agree with you. When you think about the interactions you have on a personal level with companies, suppliers, telephone companies, whoever, the process is elongated and often painful. And by the time you get to, the human being, and if you do get to a human being, they might not be the ones with the right answers anyway. So I think that in today's society, we want what we want, and as quickly and as easily as we can get it. And of course, as comprehensive and valuable as we can get it. And an avatar can deliver on all of those because it's available, right? It's there, and it's, I guess, programmed with all of our nuances and information and our personality and our engaging style and everything else. So it kind of creates a more acceptable way of communication.
Of course. I don't think it's ever going to be you. I don't think it's ever going to replace the real David, but it's like oftentimes it's the second best thing. And oftentimes it's much, much better than the other option, which would be nothing, You never having that conversation. And that just seems like a loss.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. So my final area of interest here is you've had an interesting career. If you could share a couple of insights with our viewers. When I think of insights, I think of something that's actionable, that, I'm going to internalize, I'm going to move on it just as soon as I have the opportunity. It's not something that I want to have a series of meetings to discuss. It's something that can impact quickly. Any thoughts from your career?
Sorry, there was just a few people walking behind me.
No worries.
So I'll just restart as if there wasn't such a pause.
Okay.
So number one is, and we've already touched on it, would be to just take action. And I'm seeing my co-founder Max. He's great at that. When I first saw the deck that he was going to invest us with, I thought, like that's not the sort of deck you go to investors with. But Max, he had the energy, he had the conviction, he had the passion about the idea, And he went to the investors, and that's how we have been able to get some of the amazing investors to believe in our company and our vision, and help us start building. And so that's the first thing I'd say. Always biased towards action. It's always going to be easier to do nothing than to do something. So always have that vision. Always think about the action and the amazing things that could result from that action, and just go for it. So that's number one. And second, let's think about it. So we've been building out our team a fair amount, and it's I do think that we have some really interesting folks on our team, and as an early stage startup, there are a lot of people who are trying different things. Some of them have experience in what they're doing. Some of them do not, and I do think it is important to give an opportunity to let people try different areas. And I was honestly surprised what some of the people ended up being really good at, and at some of the people's superpowers. So, for example, I was doing a webinar with one of our employees, our head of our customer experience at Monk, and seeing the energy, seeing the connection that he was able to bring to this webinar, I realized that he'd actually be a really good person for doing these things going forward. So yeah, one of those people has been our head of customer experience, Seth Monk. I recently did a webinar with him where he was talking about his experience working with a confidant and prototyping a confidant for coaching, and I realized, how much trust, how much of that personal connection he was able to establish on camera, and I realized how powerful he would be doing this going forward. So I do think it is important to give the folks on your team a chance to try out new areas, to try out areas that you may not necessarily have hired them for, especially at a pre-seed stage, where there are a lot of these areas for us to try out and a lot of different directions for us to grow. So that's what I've been trying to do, and to allow my team to be doing. So to sum it up, two things: go for it, and allow other people to go for it. I guess that's the long and the short of it.
Very well said, Val. And I have an example of just doing just that with someone in first year university who I brought on board for a specific task, and I gave him a couple of different tasks, including technical tasks, and he excels at these tasks. So yes, give people the opportunity to try new things and excel at them, or fail and learn at the same time, right?
Exactly.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Val. I really appreciate your time. I hope we get to talk again, maybe in a year or two, when Happyverse is probably going to be much further ahead than it currently is now. I think you're definitely onto something. So thanks again.
Thank you very much, David. And I'd love to talk to you again.